Do you have items in your craft stash that are neglected and unused, but you can't bear to get rid of them? Welcome to Use It or Lose It, the YouTube series where I'll dive into the products that you have lying around in your craft room and the products I have lying around in mine. After I've created something, I'll decide if I think I'll use it again or if it needs to give up that precious space in my stash, and I hope you'll play along.
Hey guys, it's Jen, and I am back with a new episode of Use It or Lose It. So this one's going to be a little bit different, maybe, but what I want to talk about is when you get a new collection or parts of a new collection, sometimes we are excited and we love it, but we let it sit in our stash and wait for the perfect thing to use it for, or even just like kind of letting it sit there, and then eventually it becomes less and less your favorite. So what I want to encourage you to do is use it now so you don't have to lose it later after you're already sick of it. Because if you use it now, then you use it while you love it, and then it's in your albums and you can see it in your albums and it's not sitting around. So that's what I want to encourage you to do today. What I'm going to be using is the Simple Stories, what is this collection called? Simple Vintage Garden District. I got the Collector's Essential Kit on scrapbook.com. So it came with 8 sheets of pattern paper, cardstock stickers, floral die cuts, washi tape, and chipboard stickers. But I also got, there were some scrapbook.com exclusive die cuts and a chipboard sheet. So I have both of those as well. So these are the ones that came with the collection kit, and then these are the scrapbook.com exclusives. So they're very similar, and there are a lot of pieces that are the same, which is actually great because then I can use them together, like I can use them on a layout if I needed like an extra butterfly like this. So they are very similar, so that's something to keep in mind. For some reason these are really cream and these are really white, but whatever. And then I also have the bits and pieces. So these are the ones that came in the kit, and these are the ones that I bought from that's a scrapbook.com exclusive. So you can see that there are a lot of similar things, but they say different words, and there are a few different pieces as well. So you really don't need both, but I got them because I really liked this collection. So I'll show it to you really quickly. These are some stickers I had in my stash that I thought matched it well, and so I might use them, but they didn't come with this. So here is the 12 by 12 sticker sheet. It has a bunch of icons, these cute little like, what would you call these, color swatches with words on them, and then some tickets and some word strips down here. And then we have the gorgeous papers. There are 8 different patterns, but I think you get 2 of each. So we have this floral, which has this kind of painted look in the background, which is very, very pretty. And then the back of that is this cut apart sheet. Very cute. This one is a floral print, and then the back is another cut apart sheet. So this is a little bit different from my normal style, but I actually really love florals, and when you pair them with more simple patterns, I think that they can look really pretty and fresh. So this one is just like a simple kind of lattice print, and then the back is another cut apart. Very fun. This one is a little kind of florally looking pattern, and then the back of that is the smaller cut aparts, the 2 by 2s. So those are great to use as embellishments. We have a butterfly paper. So there's some pink tone-on-tone butterflies in the background and then white layered over the top. This is just really pretty. Look at that paper. Love something like that. Then we have this bird print that has birds and butterflies. I like the colors on this one a lot. And then the back of this one is a nice just bird print that you could use for a background, or you could fussy cut these too. I think that would be nice. This one is a bee pattern. I don't super love this, so I'm okay with ignoring it and just using this side, which is just kind of a collage of vintage floral papers and seed packets and stuff. We've got this kind of cool plaid, but you can see it's like the lines are really textured. And then the back of that is this really gorgeous floral. Then we've got this floral with butterflies. This is actually just mostly leaves, very green. And then the back, oh, that's so pretty. I love a paper like this. Very, very pretty. This reminds me of Wilna Furstenberg a little bit. Okay, then we have this butterfly pattern. So I don't think we have 2 of each. I think it said 8 pattern papers and then there were cut apart sheets or something. I don't know, but we have a lot of different cut aparts. So then we've got these like colorful butterflies, and then the back of that is another one of these these are great for layers, but also if you want to do it to use it as a background paper. This one would be perfect for a background. I love this one. So great. This kind of like watercolory leaking out the sides. I love that. And then we've got a nice floral on the back of that. And then lastly, we have this kind of peachy orange with there's a tone-on-tone like kind of script in the background, and then these white patterns stamped on top. And then this really lovely wreath, which of course I think I have to use that over this, but we'll see. So this is the collection that I'm going to use. I'm going to print some photos and then I will talk you through my process. And also I will talk you through some of the ways that when I'm breaking into a new kit, how I decide what to use and that kind of thing. Oh, if you wanted to see the washi tape, it is a floral pattern as well, and we'll see if I can find the end. Here we go. Very pretty. Love it. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and print my photos and come back and talk you through the process.
Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is I'm going through the papers and I'm trying to decide what jumps out at me right away. I have these 2 photos of my daughter and my niece. This was kind of the first day that they were able to hang out and to go out and about while we've had these restrictions in place due to COVID-19. And so I wanted to document that, and I thought that this florally kind of collection would be a great one to document this outdoor adventure that they had. And so I chose a pattern paper that I thought would be good for a background, and this one was just calling my name, and so that's kind of the way I like to start off with a new collection. I go through the papers, choose a couple that I think I would love to use. I go through the embellishments and choose a few things that I think are super cute or that would go well with my layout or the subject of my layout, and that's what I'm doing here. Just going through all of the ephemera. Like I mentioned, I have 2 packs, one from scrapbook.com and one that was just the Simple Stories one, and they're very similar, so I have a lot of similar pieces. I definitely don't think you need both. I think I say that 5 times in this video, but just want to reiterate. So I am going to cut those photos apart, leaving a white border because I love having a white border on my photos, and when you're using a busier background, I think that's important. I want part of my title to be so lovely, and so I pulled those off the chipboard sheet, and now I am going to start assembling my page. So I know that I want my photos to rest somewhere in the middle of that text printed background, and so I'm just going to kind of layer them up here so that they're overlapping and touching, but they are they still pop out on the back of that layout. So I looked through my stash to find some letter stickers that might work with this, and I didn't want to use, I wanted some that were a little bit larger than the ones I showed at the beginning of the video, and so I found these from, I believe, Ellie's Studio. And I'm just spelling out of the house because I want my title to be so lovely to be out of the house. Because that was definitely true, especially for Malia. So I'm going to kind of rest that between the 2 photos, and I like the way that that little corner creates a home for that title. I'm going to use my favorite alphabets. Oh my goodness, you guys, I'm so into little tiny alphabet dies. And so I have a bunch from Sizzix and Tim Holtz. These ones are his newer typewriter font. This is the lowercase. You may have seen me use the uppercase version in other videos, but what you just saw me doing was putting some double-sided tape on the back of this scrap piece of paper, because it's so much easier if you make these tiny letters into a sticker. And so that's basically what that's doing. And so they'll just be sticky and I won't have to fiddle with a tiny glue pen for those. So I just cut out the words to be, and that's going to complete my title. And they're just going to kind of nestle underneath So Lovely. And you can see that So Lovely is kind of curved, and I like the way that kind of all goes together. I like creating titles where you can really make it look like it all belongs together by customizing things and nestling things together. I think that is really nice. So I did pop up one of the photos. The other one is just glued down. I've been really loving the scrapbook.com rolls of foam adhesive. They're not too thick and not too thin, so I am really enjoying that. I'll be sure to link to all these products in the video description if you're interested in them. I'm going to put a little extra adhesive on the back of those chipboard pieces just because I want to make sure they're stuck forever. And I've got my title down. Now, really, if I added journaling, this page would feel finished because of the gorgeous printing on the background. But of course, I'm going to add more. So I have a few die cuts. I'm adding some florals, and I'm going to add some butterflies as well. I'm just kind of auditioning the pieces, seeing what kind of tucks in nicely. You know me and my nestling and tucking. I like it. I like when the little leaves curve just rightly around the letters, that kind of thing. So I'm just kind of playing around here. There was a die cut that had this little tab on it that I decided to cut out, and I'm thinking about sticking it on the side of the photo. I like that little piece that's kind of almost a border strip, and I put it beneath the photo, and there's a circle that I thought would be cute on the photo. With something like this where the background is fairly busy, I'm keeping all of my embellishment really close to the photos because that's the only place where it really makes sense to me. So I'm adding some foam adhesive to that little border strip, and I'm going to have it so it overlaps the second photo as well, and then just tucking that little tab beneath it, or it's like a little ticket shape. I stuck the circle down as well, and I'm trying to decide about that tab. I don't think it's really going to work here, but I do want to add a few more things, so I'm just looking to see what those things might be. And really, I don't need much, so I'm just kind of being nitpicky here. I do want to add some hearts and or butterflies, so I'm thinking about that. And here you can see me kind of putting some butterflies down. I'm just going to put some adhesive in the center and pop the wings up so that they look very dimensional, and they'll stay dimensional when I stick them in my album because I put the foam adhesive on there. And so I'm just putting 3. So there's kind of 3 clusters, one next to the title, one to the below and to the right of the title, and then one below that left photo. And so I'm putting a little butterfly in each cluster. So even if you keep everything really close to your photos, you can still have 3 clusters of embellishment, and that just always seems to work. It's a triangle. It draws your eye even more around the photos, and on something like this, it's just further kind of like squishing your eye into the center because that's where the focus is. So I'm just looking for a few hearts now. I am going to glue down that chipboard heart. I added a little bit more glue to the butterfly, and now I'm just going to add a few more hearts. So I'm just kind of going through the chipboard, finding out which ones are going to work, and I put 1 in each cluster. And so I think I add maybe 1 or 2 more things there. You saw me just tuck in a little sticker, and there's another sticker I tucked at the top. And I think that besides a few more things, I'm going to try this washi tape here. I don't know that the washi tape below the photo stays, but I do rip some in half and add it at the top of the layout. And then I'm going to add a little bit at the bottom as well. And I'm just trimming off a little bit that was hanging off the edges. And I can't decide if I like that or not, but I go ahead and print my journaling, and I'm just cutting it into strips, and I'm going to kind of tuck that in the space that's to the right and below that right hand photo. So You'll see me do that here, and I'm just using scissors to cut up my journaling. Sometimes I use my guillotine trimmer, sometimes I use my scissors. It just depends how I'm feeling. I'm going to glue those down with my Scotch Quick Dry adhesive, and I'm trimming off the ends so that there's not too much white space on the sides. But the way that I've been doing my journaling lately is on the Project Life app. I'm just typing up my journaling and then printing directly from my phone to my little Epson PM400, which is the best purchase of a printer I've ever made. I love that little printer. It's the best because before I was using the Canon Selfie, and apart from the photos not being my favorite and I didn't like the photo paper that you had to use with it, you couldn't print on regular paper, and you can on the Epson PM400, which I love. So I just love that little printer. I will tell everyone who asks that how much I love it. So definitely you should get it if you don't have it and if you're looking for a printer. So I'm just gluing down with my Scotch Quick Dry adhesive in my fine line bottle there, and you can see the journaling kind of blends into the text on the background, but it stands out enough that you know what it is. And I really, really love the way that this layout turned out, and it was quick because the background was printed. So if you have a collection and you're wanting to get some quick pages done, look for those backgrounds that have a lot of the work done for you already. So now I am adding a little bit of white paint just around the text to cover up some of the text in the background, just so that it doesn't stand out as much as the text of my journaling does. And that's really going to help it stand out even more. So I'm lastly just looking for like a little label or something I can put my date on, and I found on a journaling card a little part of a label, and I'm fussy cutting it out, and I'm going to tuck it next to my photo and stamp the date, and that is going to complete this layout. So I'm going to come back and talk to you about some stuff right now.
Okay, so I hope that you can see how you can take a collection right off the bat and make a layout using just a few things, maybe focusing on your favorite pattern paper for the background. I'm going to make a few more layouts and I'll come and explain them to you afterward. I'm not going to go through the process of making them, but I'll come back and show them to you afterward and talk you through a couple of other things after you've created your first layout that you can do with a new collection or a new kit to get you kind of keep the ball rolling so the kit doesn't sit in your stash.
Before I get into those other layouts, here are a couple of close-ups of the So Lovely layout that you can see here, and I hope that you can see all the details. What a fun layout this was to create.
Okay, so it's been a few days and I've created 4 layouts using this collection, and I kind of wanted to go through each one and tell you where my focus was as I was creating them, in the order that I created them, and kind of what I was focusing on. So when I very first get a collection, I kind of like to pick out my favorite thing, my favorite paper, or my favorite few embellishments, and focus on that for the first layout. So you saw me create this one with my favorite background paper from the collection, and so that's kind of what I focused on for this one. I picked the background paper. It was pretty busy, so the rest of it was very simple, and that's how this one came together. For the second layout, and you won't know this from looking at it, but I decided to focus on the cut apart sheets for this collection. And so what I did was I layered my photo on top of a cut apart. This is a 4x6 cut apart, and I just covered up a lot of the stuff that was on this side of it, and I pushed my photo to the side because it had this little journaling, or this little label part, and I thought that would be cute sticking out the side of the photo. So I just covered up some of that journaling card. This is the back of one of the journal card pages, and then, oh no, that's not, but this is the back of one of them, and I really love this paper, and so I picked one of the cards that I knew I wasn't going to use, and this is actually 2 pieces that I cut in half because I didn't want to use up that paper. And then this is also from the cut apart, and that kind of fueled my like it really went along with my photo, which is a picture of my cat being lazy and laying around in front of the house. She likes to just lay there and roll around on the cement in the sun or lay there in the shade. Anyway, so that's what I did on this one. And then on the back of it, you can see that I used just a piece. This is, I'll explain this in just a minute, but I really wanted this peach color. And this piece came from another piece of paper, and I'll show you that in just a second. But I just, again, this is one where I was going through the journal cards and trying to decide, okay, what do I actually want to use? I don't use journaling cards a ton, and so I wanted to just pick out the things that I thought would really work here. Then these frames are some stickers that I cut in half, and then I used the birds because I talked about how she likes to chase birds. Sometimes she catches them. And then I just used a few other pieces that are either chipboard, stickers, or die cuts to help tell my story. I did add a few enamel dots that did not come from this collection. And then I added lots of stitching details. So you can kind of see up here I've added some detail. I stitched across the chipboard piece, which already had some faux stitching printed onto it. I stitched my title down, which I used the alphabet stickers that I showed you at the beginning of the video that did not come with this collection either. The things that I got, I don't know if there are alphabets that match this collection, but I didn't get any. So anyway, and then this piece of paper back here is another one that it isn't, it's not a cut apart card. It was just a pattern paper that I didn't want to use the back of, and so I was fine cutting it up because it just had a bunch of seed packet stuff on it. I'll show you what I have left over at the end of the video too, so I can kind of explain it a little bit further. But I like to often gut papers to use the inside if I don't want to use the whole sheet. So you can see I only used a little bit of this sheet here, and so that's a good way to conserve paper if that's something that you care about. You can kind of see there's a huge difference between these first two layouts too in the style, because here I used a pattern paper for background, and here I went with white and layers, and so there's just a difference there. So the next thing I wanted to focus on, there was another piece of paper I knew I wanted to cut up from the moment that I saw it. And so that's kind of what I focus on when I'm going through a collection, are the things that I know immediately what I want to do with it. I have an idea for it, and that was this paper. This was a wreath that was actually printed on this green paper. So I cut this from the sides because I knew I was going to cut the wreath from the center. So it was okay for me to use this little bit of it, even though I knew I wanted to use this peach paper with it. Well, it has peach on the background, but I wanted to use that for this page here. So there's two things I want to point out on this specific layout. One, I used a paper because I had an idea for it. I liked the idea of cutting the wreath in half and layering it up together to create this kind of half circle. And then there were other wreaths throughout the collection. When you get a collection, there's often repeated embellishments or icons or motifs. And so I used that motif 3 times here. So I mimicked this larger wreath half circle on this side with a smaller one that was from a cut apart sheet, and this even smaller one was also from a cut apart sheet. So I used 3 of those, and then there was a patterned paper that had that same, it has a plaid on the background, but that had the same floral with the green in the background, and so I used that and just ripped a little piece up here. So like I said, I fussy cut the floral paper out, I cut it in half, and I stitched it down on the side. For this background with this kind of, it looks brown, but really it's coppery, I used a gelato, and it is called Iced Chai, and it is metallic, and I put some gesso down so that it would smooth easier, and I just laid some of the color down and smudged it with my finger. And so I put it all around the wreath. I put a big circle here to house my title and journaling and the other wreaths, and then I put some around here after I ripped the paper and stitched on top of it. So I really like that detail. And then where there was a hole in the wreath, I just added some patterned paper, and I added a lot of stitching on this page. I'll show you a little bit closer up. Here you can see a bunch of that, and just a few embellishments. It didn't need a lot. So there's stitching here and a few words, stitching here, my journaling, my smaller title, and then 3 butterflies. So pretty simple on that one. After 3 layouts, I have scraps now. Definitely I have a bunch of scraps. And so for my final layout, I decided to just use those scraps and make some layers behind my photo. And so that's exactly what I did here. So you'll see lots of little bits and pieces of papers that I used on other pages. This is actually a piece that I cut from when I layered these 2 pieces together. There was a lot of overlap from the back piece, and so I cut a little piece of the inner part of this that's hidden. You can kind of see it there where I cut. And so I used that to kind of frame my photo here. And so it's just like these random little bits and pieces. Some of them are branding strips, like this little piece right here is a branding strip. This little part is part of the and the orange. They're pieces that when I was fussy cutting out the wreath, there were all these leftover pieces, and so I layered them back here. I cut out some alphabets for my title, and then I used leftover pieces in here as well. And then I also used some of the washi tape right here and right here and right here just to bring in some more of that floral. And then this piece on the back is actually another piece of pattern paper that I had cut out some right here, so I didn't have a full sheet, so I just used 2 sides and cut it down to make a little layer for the back of my layout. And that helps to balance all of this weight right here. Now there's this whole border here that helps balance that. So at this point too, I was thinking, okay, what on the cut apart sheets do I actually care about? What will I actually use? Because like I said, I don't use them a ton, and I thought I can easily just cut these up and use them for layers or use the backs because all of the backs had patterns on them. But I really did like this Dream Big, and it fit with my photo of my daughter sleeping on my arm. And so I punched that into a circle and used it here. So at this point, like I said, just thinking of the ways that I can use the things that I still have left, which there's a lot left. So I want to show you that now, what I've got left over. And at this point, after creating 4 layouts with this collection, I feel like I've really gotten the essence of the collection. I've used the things that I really loved, especially loved that one. And then also just the little bits and pieces that went together, my favorite background here. And so at this point, I kind of feel okay about the collection going into my stash, because what I've done in the past, and maybe what some of you are guilty of as well, is buying the collection. It's so cute, you put it all together, and then it sits there. And you don't use it. It's hard to remember that you have the bits and pieces of it when you're creating other layouts and you're just pulling from your stash. And so unless you sit down and intentionally use the collection, it might just sit there for a while. I have actually lots of collections that I haven't used yet. And so I am excited that I just got this, and I've got 4 layouts already from it. I feel like I got a good use out of this, and now the rest can go into my stash and I won't feel guilty about it. So let me show you what I have left. And there's a lot, but I wanted to show you kind of what I had used. So on the chipboard pieces, I mentioned these are very similar. You definitely wouldn't have needed both of them. One of them is the scrapbook.com exclusive chipboard pieces, but you know, I have them and they're cute, so whatever. So I used a bunch of those pieces. There's still some left that I can use for other layouts in the future. The stickers I didn't use a ton of. There's still lots left for me, but I did use a few, so I feel good about that. Now, as far as the papers go, there were 8 plus 4 is 12. There were 12 sheets of pattern paper. I have 2 full sheets still, and these are sheets that I can use for backgrounds. I really love this one for a background. This one, I like both sides of both of them actually, and so if I don't end up using them for a background, that's okay. But I'm glad that I still have these pieces that I can use if I feel like coming back to this collection and using it as a whole again. But those are the 2 full sheets that I have. And then the rest of them are bits and pieces. So for this sheet, I only used one little part of it. There's still a lot of this gorgeous floral, which I would most likely either cut up anyway or use in layers, so that works perfectly. I have this sheet, which was another one that was a cool background, but I used the top part for layers and for cutting out those alphabet letters. And then I still have the back, which is this gorgeous butterfly print. And then I have this cut apart sheet, which I did cut out 2 things. I used one of them. The other one I still have cut up somewhere here. And then the back is a nice floral. So this is one where I would either, if I used the cut aparts, it would probably be tucking them into layers. I could put a photo on top of this. I don't love the phrase live, laugh, love. I kind of hate that. And so I probably would never use those. And so I could definitely use the back of that. So like I said, I've used the ones that I'm excited about, and now it's just leftovers. I also have this cut apart sheet, which I wanted to use some of this. So this was a cut apart sheet. When I said it wasn't on this second layout I created, it really is right here, this. So I cut off some that I knew I wouldn't use. And then these ones, there are a couple that I think are cool, like this one or this one, but I really am okay with cutting into this and just using whatever parts I want. So I feel like I've gotten good use out of that paper. And then this one, I still love this side, and I ripped off the other side. And so I've got lots to work with there. There's this cut apart sheet, which I only used a couple of the pieces from here. And this is one that's easy to use for layers or to punch things out of, so that's great. And then this one, which I did not like the back of this, I actually used a bunch of the front side, and this is great to keep in my stash for layers as well. This is another cut apart sheet, which I could see myself using this maybe as a layer, but these ones not so much. I love this side, so that's great. And then I have just these little bits and pieces. There's one of those cut aparts that are left over that I could maybe punch some shapes from and throw away. So really, I'm happy with the amount of stuff that I created using this collection. And I don't know about you, but once I put my stuff into my scrap drawer, they're up for grabs. Like, anyone can use them because I already feel like I've used my favorite things. And so I'm okay with stuff going into my scraps now. If you're someone who likes to keep your collections together, you could totally do that. But I am going to split this up in my stash now, and I feel good about doing that. Now, I know I've talked on and on for a long time now, and you've watched a process video. But I did this with another collection where I just put it together and I made a few layouts with it, and now I feel okay about, you know, okay, I feel like I've used this collection now. And I wanted to show you that really quick because I don't think I've ever shared it. And I have that stuff here. So I will go grab that and show you those layouts and that collection as well. I don't know if you guys remember the We Are Memory Keepers Wildflower collection, but I found this paper pad at Tuesday Morning a while back. I love it so much, and I decided that I still loved it enough that I wanted to buy it because I didn't buy all of this stuff when it came out the first time. And so it's fairly older, but I created a few layouts with this, and you know, it made me feel good about getting some stuff used up. So I had the stickers in my stash already, and I did use some of those. I also had a few die cuts, but what is mostly in here, so these are some of the die cuts from the collection. A lot of the stuff in here are there's 2 of each of the pattern papers in there. So what I did was go through and figure out which papers would be good ones to fussy cut, and I did it. And which papers were cut aparts, and I did that as well. So I went through, let me just show you real quick. This is a cute paper I haven't used yet. There's still one of each pattern in here that I did not fussy cut. So I did cut this cut apart sheet. I cut it completely apart, and it's in there. There's another one. This one I cut completely apart. I thought I would be more likely to use it if it was already done. So I like fussy cutting, so I did it in front of the TV one day. And that's just something I like to do. You definitely don't have to do that. I think I fussy cut this one. Probably, maybe. I think I fussy cut that one. I definitely did that one. So you get the idea. I went through and I fussy cut a bunch of the papers. And I created, I think, 3 layouts with this. I'd still like to create some more, but I thought I would show you because that's the episode, or the topic for this episode of Use It or Lose It, is using a collection. And so let me show you the layouts that I made. So first one that I made was this one, and I wanted to focus on these flowers. It's super simple, right? I mostly just used all of those fussy cut flowers and I put them into a wreath shape so I could really feature them. I used one of the more plain patterns in here as a background, and then this Come Away With Me came from one of the cut apart sheets, this one at the back here. You can often find titles in here, and so I'm not a huge into boxy titles, and so I fussy cut that out, but you could definitely just use that card as a title itself. And so that was my first one, and these are also from fussy cut from the papers. So pretty simple here, and then the sticker is from the sticker sheet that I had from this collection. Next I have this one, which I wanted to focus on using a couple of the cut apart sheets. So there were some that had border strips, so I used those down here. I used one of them to write my journaling, and I made a grid style layout, and then I used a few other pieces that were fussy cut or stickers. This tag was from one of the cut apart sheets, and so I just wanted to focus on some of the papers from that I could cut apart. And then lastly I have this one, which I just decided to take a few of the papers that had really large focal images. So these ones that I had fussy cut, I really loved the way those images looked. And then, so the top of this layout is actually cut off from the top of this pattern paper with the houses, which is fun. And you know, the rest of it is just things that I had fussy cut from the pattern papers, and then a couple of stickers. So, and then the background is one of the more plain papers from the collection. So you'll find usually in most collections there are some really busy patterns and some patterns that you can use easily for backgrounds. So that's what I've done with these. Besides this one, I did use white cardstock for the background, but it's fun to use a collection like this. I hope that you'll give it a try. Use it now so you don't have to lose it later, because we all know that sometimes something that we think is super cute, 5 years down the road, it's not our favorite. And new collections keep coming out that are gorgeous and beautiful. So use the stuff that you love and use it now so that you don't have to lose it later. I hope that you'll join me again soon.
Will you take up the challenge? Join us on Facebook in the Crafty Use It or Lose It group and tag your photos on social media, #CraftyUseItOrLoseIt. Can't wait to see what you create. So, what do you have to use or lose? Leave a comment and you may see it in an upcoming episode. Some other episodes that you may enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any time I post a new video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again very soon.